What's going on, everybody? Today I'm dropping a free Chrome extension to analyze every query showing in Google's AI overview called Straight from your Google Search Console. Now, this is a live demo, so this means I'll connect to Google Search Console, I'll pick a property and date, and I'll hit fetch. When I do this, you'll see all the queries showing in an AI overview for your website, the pages they triggered, plus impressions, clicks, and average position. These are then auto grouped into competitors, service pages, and sector pages. There's also a one-click CSV export too. I'll run through how you can get your hands on this in a moment, but if analyzing AI overviews is something you're struggling with, then stay tuned. Now, I don't know about you guys, but I'm getting pretty sick and tired of having to pay an absolute fortune to be able to see which queries my website has triggered for an AI overview. For example, if I wanted to sign up to Ahrefs Brand Radar, bear in mind we already pay Ahrefs a pretty significant sum every month. I've got to pay something along the lines of like £159 a month for each platform. So £159 a month just to see my AI overviews, which I just think is absolutely ridiculous. So what we've done is we've built a Chrome extension, which allows you to see all the queries that your website is serving in an AI overview across any sort of period of time. And what I'll do is I'll give you a quick run through of this in a little bit. But very simply, you can choose your comparison date range. I'll come onto the query length and countries, select fetch data, and then what you'll see is the number of queries that your site is shown from the AI overviews, the comparison compared to the previous period, and then you've got all the queries down here and loads of other stuff. So what I'll do is I'll come onto this in a little bit. Real quick, if you just want the extension, you don't really care too much for the walkthrough, that's also fine. If you sign up to the link in the description, you'll get emailed a link to a Notion board, which looks a little bit like this. The Notion board has show notes for every single video that I've created on YouTube. If you go to the most recent one, Free AI Overview Tracker, all you need to do is download and unpackage the zip folder. And then I've got a bit of a step-by-step of how to go about installing that on your browser. So I'll come on to a bit more of the Chrome extension in a minute. But before that, have you noticed in your Google Search Console across the last sort of 12 months or so that you've had a real inflation in impressions, but this has also been met by a drop in the number of clicks? Well, typically, this means that what's happening is more of your queries and more of your pages are being served in an AI overview. And because the click-through rate has shown to be really low on those AI overviews, the impressions have been bloated and the clicks have dropped. But did you know there's actually a way in which you can see these queries directly in your Google Search Console? You just need to run a small regex query. So if you come into add filter, go to query, go to custom regex, and then add in this snippet just here. What this is essentially telling Google Search Console to do is only show the queries that are at least 75 characters. And what we found is the queries that are at least 75 characters tend to be more long tail and tend to be triggered by an AI overview. So as you can see, when I run that custom regex, the number of impressions sort of scales up very, very quickly. If I actually sort this by impressions, you'll notice that a number of these queries are sort of serving into the hundreds. So the next question you may then ask is, well, surely a number of individuals aren't serving this exact query every single time. And you would be correct. So briefly, how Google's AI or Gemini works is it uses something called query fan out. So whenever you put a keyword into Google, that Google's AI will take that query and search a number of related queries to try and serve the best possible answer in its AI overview. So this means for every query that a user is putting in, that could trigger over 10 additional queries with the goal of trying to give you the perfect answer in that AI overview. So this is why in your Google Search Console, you're going to see a lot of long tail queries that have impressions into the hundreds, thousands, tens of thousands, for example. Now, as this is having more of a direct impact on the number of clicks and the traffic that is subsequently coming from Google, we need to be able to analyze this data so that we can report on the likely number of queries that we have in the AI overviews, whether that's increasing, decreasing, and overall more of a report on visibility, which I think is more of where the sort of SEO community is heading towards. So if you download the extension, unzip it, unpackage it, go through the step-by-steps that I did in the Notion board here, select the tracker, select connect to Google, and then just quite simply sign up with the Google address that has your Search Console property listed. Okay, so the overview page, once you've selected your Search Console property, you can either do a single range with a custom date range, or the comparison. So I'm going to do the comparison in this case. I'm going to do 28 days versus previous period. You can select a specific country that it comes from. And again, all this data is pulled directly from Google Search Console. So we've only plugged in the Google Search Console API to be able to do this. And then you can actually choose your minimum query length. Now I was in two minds whether we should leave this in or not, because we don't want to unintentionally skew the results. But if you potentially want to just look at queries that are 85 characters, for example, so even longer, you can manipulate this yourself. I've left 75 as a standard, as that feels a length that whenever I've gone through this with client accounts, I've yet to find a query which looks human-like. But you may want to change this, and that's totally up to you. Now, all you need to do is press fetch data, and it will probably take 10 to 15 seconds for all of this data to pull through. So once the data is pulled through, you'll get an overview that says probable AI overviews. Again, because we can't say categorically that this hasn't been written by human, we have to say that this is probable, it's most likely, purely because of the length and number of impressions that have triggered for that specific query. So this looks at the number of those queries versus the previous period given. The number of characters has been pulled by the query length up at the top here, so that would change depending on the character count that you want in at the top. Then we've got the standard Search Console data, so we've got the impressions, we've got the clicks, CTR, and average position. At the top here, you have two tabs. So the probable AI overviews, this is essentially showing the queries, so all the queries down on the left-hand side. If there's data showing that query was triggered in the last period, then you'll get a comparison across here as well. And this will give you the top 50 results. And now if you go to the top pages, this will also show you the page level data, so impressions, click, CTR, average position. And again, it will give you a comparison if there was an AI overview that was triggered for a query that was showing that page in the previous period. I've also given a small sort of category drop down. Again, there's not too much within this, and then it's a little bit more tailored to B2B. So if you go to competitors, for example, this is going to search by all the queries that suggest a competitor type query. But again, you don't necessarily need to use this. Now, I think one of the best features of this is you can export all of this data, so beyond the top 50, into a spreadsheet. Just going to show you what this looks like. So you will be given three tabs. The first one is the summary. So this will give you the date range. It will give you essentially those summary cards in at the top here, and the percentage changes as well. You'll then get every single query down here. So again, beyond the top 50. And then it will give you the impressions, the percentage changes, clicks, click changes, CTR change, all of that. So you can get right to the query level, increases, decreases compared to the previous period, which I think is pretty cool. And then on the page level, we've actually added in the query per page. So you can go that one step deeper. So if you're looking for the pages that specific queries have triggered, you can find this in the pages tab. And again, we've got the all the standard data with the changes, with the percentage changes next to it. So you can get to the page level, to the query level, and the changes in the number of impressions. So if we found that, for example, the number of impressions has increased by 1,000% in this case, then it's likely this has been picked up in a number of AI overviews. And what we can then do is potentially have a look at the query, see if we can address that query on the specific page so we can answer the question more directly, and then subsequently have that answer served in the AI overview. So that pretty much wraps up the video. It's quite short and sweet. I would love any suggestions for additional features and your experiences of using the extension as well. I will be absolutely amazed if Google doesn't provide this within Google Search Console in the next sort of 12 months or so. But for now, it's a nice sort of straightforward way for us to pull data more aligned with the AI overview. As mentioned, if you want the Chrome extension, just sign up to the link in the description in the comments of this video and sign up to the Notion board, and you will be emailed a link which will have that Notion board. And finally, if you like these types of videos, then please subscribe to the channel and let me know more of what you want to see. But until then, see you on the next video.